Good evening, everyone. Um, Welcome to another Let's Talk show here on UrbanCast. I'm your host tonight, Jack, and tonight's conversation is both powerful and necessary, especially as we close out May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. We are honored to sit down with Maggie Fanara, author of a newly released memoir, Beautifully Broken: Finding Beauty in the Struggle. The book is raw, faith driven, deeply personal, taking us through her journey of abuse, heartbreak, loss, ultimately redemption. We invite everyone watching to like, share, and drop your questions in the comments. If you feel to do so, this is a conversation about healing, and your voice, everyone's voice matters. With that said, welcome, Maggie. How are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Doing just fine. Um, let's get kicked off and tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey from Alexandria down to Baton Rouge, and that book signing and all that good stuff you had this weekend, and all that kind of good stuff.
It's been busy. So, of course, I'm from Alexandria, born and raised there. About 3.5 years ago, I got married and moved to Baton Rouge.
Mhm.
So, they only say that it's like they always say it's like Facebook worthy, like whatever. Like when I finally changed my phone number to a 225, like I knew that was it. I was now a Baton Rouge person. So
So you so you actually changed over to 225.
I
Oh.
did. That's a big deal. My husband is still 318, and he's been
Uh-huh.
here 15, 20 years.
Uh-huh. All right.
So yeah, I'm from Alexandria. Moved here, got remarried, started a new life. It's been such a blessing, and yeah, this was a hard 6 year journey of this book, like 6 years of it.
6 years.
So
Yeah. Steve gave me an update today about you, and he talked
he
about
got an earful.
he got an earful. Okay, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it at that. Um,
Mhm.
uh, Maggie, for those of who are just joining us or who are being just introduced to you, can you share a little bit about again who you are? But I really want you to delve down into beautifully broken. Um, that.
So probably 7 years ago now.
Mhm.
Um, was at church, and I will never forget this lady came up to me and she said, Maggie, God spoke to me and told me that you're going to write a book. And I remember looking at her like trying to be nice, but like, this is crazy. Like, I don't know what I would do, which I was in the middle of a bad breakup, divorce. So it was like there's something else that I could just take on right now. And she would say it every time she see me, I'm looking forward to the book. And I was like, you never know, but it just wasn't there, like I didn't know where this would come from. I mean, I didn't even know what a title would be, nothing. And I remember so vividly, God just woke me up in the middle of the night and gave me the name of it. And I started writing, and I did for a couple of years, like literally just when my kids would be asleep, I would write. And that's kind of how it came to fruition. And um, I'd about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I couldn't find my ending to it. So I it's like I had this whole book, but I didn't know what my ending would be. I thought, oh, maybe it was when I got married and everything changed. No, that wasn't it. And right after Caiden passed, it's like God spoke to me and said, you wanted your ending, now talk about it. And that's when I finished the book.
And that's when you finish the book. Now, I guess your formal training. I mean, are you an English major, or how did you just decide to say, "Hey, I'm Maggie. I'm going to write me a book"?
I didn't. Like I've done sales and marketing my whole life, and so a camera's not, I'm not shy, anything like that, but I really don't know. And that's what's crazy is like my husband still hadn't read the book. Like I hadn't let him read it.
Oh, okay.
And so it was even hard for me to have to go back and read it. But it was like, man, I don't even remember writing this, but it would just, I don't know. Like it came to me.
It just came to you. All right. I guess sometimes we don't know what our callings uh, are going to end up being. But that man upstairs, somehow or another, he knows what it is. I never thought I would be in front of a camera. So go.
There you go. I mean, I would read it and be like, man, that was good, but it really, there were so many times, like, in the span of 6 years that I wanted to critique myself so much. Like, I've grown so much, like, just the word, everything. And I just, was like, no, there was a reason that I wrote it in that season. And I'm just going to leave it there. So, it was hard to not, like, try to change things, but
Okay, all right. Listen, let me a quick question here. A book like this doesn't come without deep pain. I mean, me just trying to come up to speed and just real quickly, I was just, my mind just started spinning, because number one, we're in this thing called Mental Health Month and all of that kind of good stuff.
yeah.
How hard was it to write about such personal trauma? What pushed you to be so transparent about this whole process?
It was really hard. And I can remember even when I started writing it, like, I was trying to, like, tiptoe around situations, or, like, I didn't want to go into too much depth of the abuse and things like that, because I've always been, and people know this, when you've been in a relationship with a narcissistic person, or, manipulative, you're scared of your voice. And as much as I use that for my own work, like, I hid the abuse for so long. So it was very hard for me to come out, or I didn't want to hurt family, or I didn't want to hurt this, but I had to get out of that because it was consuming me. It's like I just needed to break free of it, and so it was very hard. I actually had to go back and put a little more detail into things. Like, the more I got out of the situation, and I was here, and it's just, you're in a different, you're secure and you're safe. So it makes it a lot easier to talk about things
Mm-hmm.
than it did 4 or 5 years ago when I started writing it. So
I've had my experiences with salespersons, and when you say, "Hey, it was a challenge for me," and salespeople, you guys don't ever have a problem,
right? Yeah. My daughter actually, whenever I'd gotten the question, she said, "Mom, what if you don't know the answer?" I said, "Then you say, that's a good question, and I'll get back to you on that." She said, "Oh, how did you know that?" You just know that. That's just the sales in you. Like, you never don't have an answer.
Right, right, right. You talk about the lies you once believed. What were some of those lies, and what was the moment or process that helped you confront them with truth?
That kind of goes back to the narcissism. The longer you're in that, you trust this person that you're in a relationship with,
Hmm.
thinking that they love you as much as you love them. So whatever they say, you would think or hope would be true. So it's even though you don't think those things about yourself, the more you hear them, well, he loves me, so if he's saying that about me, then that must be true. So
Hmm.
you begin to believe all of these lies about yourself. You're not worthy, you're not this, everything was my fault, or, and you believe that for so long. But it's like, really down deep, it's like, I knew I deserved more, I was worthy of more. um so that was a big challenge. I think when I finally left and found out about, after I left, my kids came out with some abuse that had been going on for 7 years that I did not know about.
Hmm.
And I think that was really my gone from me being timid, or like, not wanting to step on toes, to being like mama bear. Like,
Hmm.
now I'm going to voice it, because you've now hurt my children. You can hurt me all day, but now you've hurt my children. So I think that was a big moment for me, to just, I knew I didn't need justice for myself, but I was going to get justice for my children.
And again, how long did would you say that you were under this amount of, abuse from 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 your husband?
I was, we were married 7 years.
7 years.
7 years of that.
Okay. How did your relationship with God evolve through your experience.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Your experiences of abuse, loss, and spiritual welfare.
I remember it's like, you have these aha moments, and I remember there was a fight, and I remember literally sleeping in my bathtub and saying, okay, God, if you get me through this night, I'm leaving. Like I'll do it. Like I know I should have, like, just please let me get through this night. And that was like my moment. I had had enough, and it was kind of a promise to God, like, just get me through. I just need to get through this. And it's not it's not easy any type of abusive relationship, because the leaving is actually the easy part. It's the aftermath. Now you're having to try to find who you are, but now, because you're away and they don't have that control over you, it's worse. It's saying what you need to hear, narcissism, manipulation, and so that was really the challenge. It was hard for me to leave, but the challenge was even harder in the years to come.
Wow. We know grief and purpose often wrestles in some space. How did Corey's passing shift?
Caiden,
I said that again.
you did it again.
Caden, I apologize. Out
You're
of the
good.
I'm good. All right, I apologize. But how did Caden's passing shift your perspective on your calling and this book?
Well, I had started the book, and I think it was more of kind of the timeline that, sometimes we don't always see God in something until we step back and you look back and it all makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, about 2 weeks before Caiden had passed, we were bringing my daughter and some of her friends to Nashville to go to the Dove Awards, and I just had this mama gut feeling in my stomach, and I did not know why. And I remember crying, and excuse me, telling my husband, like, I don't know what's wrong, but like I have such a burden for Caiden. I don't feel like I can leave him. Like, I was racking my brain to try to see how we could fit another person in our car and how I could get him out of work. I mean, it was just that bad, like that feeling. And I remember just praying and saying, God, I dedicated him to you. I gave him to you when he was a child. I can't be everywhere, but you are. Just put your arms around him. Just keep him safe. He never ever knew that. And 2 days into Nashville, I still have the text. I think I may have talked about it in the book. And he sends me a text and says, Mom, I've been on my knees in my face beside my bed and with my Bible, crying out to God, because I know that he had a bigger purpose for me. He never knew what I had prayed. And it's like God was like, I needed you out the way so I could have Caiden to myself. And he died 3 days later. Like, there was such preparation. And when you see things like that and you see God and all of these, it doesn't make your grief any easier, but it makes your hope even more. Like, there's a hope that I know, like, God was just, I believe that God allowed that too, just for me to say, Maggie, I'm in the middle of this. I have Caiden. I
Mm.
have Caiden. I have Caiden. The day he passed, I had that gut feeling that something was wrong again. We were actually supposed to go to a tailgate at LSU.
Mhm.
And when we got there, he had already passed. And I, again, went outside of his apartment and I hit my knees and I said, God, the Bible says I don't have to ask anything from you. I have the same power you do. You either breathe life back into him or you take me.
Mhm.
So between the time they had gotten there and worked on him, it had been over an hour that he had no heartbeat. And they said, we've done all we could do. I said, go back in. And they come out and they were like, we don't know how, but Caiden has a heartbeat.
Wow.
And it was like, all right, God, like, again, one of those moments. And long story short, of course, he was without oxygen. His brain, every one of his organs were perfect, and
Mhm.
being able to donate. And they came in, Lopa came in and was like, Caiden decided to be an organ donor and he was in the military. I said, no, you're not cutting my child. You're not doing, that's my baby.
Yeah.
And it's like God spoke to me and said, you want to know why I gave him a heartbeat back? Now you know.
Now you.
I needed to keep those organs going. And of course, we donated them. And it was just to see God in the middle of it all. It's overwhelming.
Tell us a little bit. Can you talk about who Caden was? His decision to enlist in the United States Air Force, and what would you want the world to remember about it?
Look, and it's been such an amazing journey. Like even whenever he passed, he was always so full of life and just goofy, and he I called him my old soul. We both loved old music, and we would
Mhm.
listen to old music together. And um, but even till today, people will still send me messages or videos or like, hey, people that he was in the Air Force with. I know we don't know each other, but I was in the Air Force with Caiden. I just want to tell you this story. Like he got me through a rough time, or this one would say, look, he would just come out and say, hey, why don't we sit down and pray together, or whatever. And then but it was just to hear all these stories that it's like mama wasn't there for him to be putting on an act for mama. This is who Caiden was when mama wasn't around.
Mhm.
It's very humbling, but he still comes and sees me. I see butterflies everywhere, and one tried to like swarm me the other day. I know he was messing with me,
Mhm.
but he's definitely not forgotten.
And that decision again about becoming a donor, at
Hmm.
his age and
Yeah.
kind of thing, the foresight that he had to do something like that, it must that tells you a whole lot about his character, his integrity, and all that kind of good stuff.
All he ever wanted to do is like he loved family. Like people would, whenever he was in the Air Force, would say, we don't know you, but we've heard so much about you. Like he talks about his mom all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's it just makes my heart happy to know that people have these memories, or Caiden was there for people. He was selfless, and that was just another way of him being a hero and being selfless was to donate. So
Okay. Wow. You wrote this book not just as a reflection, but as a guide. Um,
yes.
what do you hope readers, especially women who feel unseen or unworthy, take away from the story?
For one, women are so resilient. Like women, I don't know how women do it, but like it's like we can handle all of these things and be completely broken inside, and it's like we still find the strength to get through it.
Hmm.
And it's like I've learned that with myself. Like there was times that I was like, I can't do this. I can't. I'm scared. I'm this. I'm that. But it's like I did it. And main thing is people just need to know you're not alone, and it is not your job to change someone else, but it is your job to make sure that you're safe. And if you're not, then you need to get out. The one thing I've always told people is never leave when everybody's mad, because it doesn't work that way. That's when things you get in trouble. You leave when they're calm and they don't expect it. And that's what I had to do. I would get my phone taken, my keys taken. So I would wait days until everything was fine. And I had my plan. Like I said, God, if you just let me through the night. And I had a plan. That's the biggest thing that women are fearful of, is because when they're in a relationship and someone's angry or they're abusive, that's not the time to say you're going to leave. Narcissism, they're going to either provoke you or they won't praise, one or the other. So if you're taunting them, that's just putting fuel on it, and you have to level it out. Like you have to let it die down.
Interesting, and that's across the board. What advice do you have for someone watching tonight who may be caught in a toxic in a toxic pattern similar to you, and feel broken, too broken to move forward? And and one of the things that I've learned, this month, um, definitely when we're talking about the mental aspects of everything. Sometimes it's the man on the other hand, because you know,
Absolutely.
yeah. So what advice would you have for someone watching tonight who may be caught in a cycle?
For one, oh, can you hear me? I don't
Yeah.
know what happened. Okay. My it went crazy. So main thing is just to know, again, you're not alone. And I know a lot of people were like me. I hid this. I lived within a couple of acres of my dad and my grandparents, and they could see us every day, and I still hid it from them. because there was a fear that my family was going to get hurt, because that's what I was told. So I hid that. The biggest thing is don't hide that. Like, find someone you trust. If it's your church, if it's someone that you can trust, just to kind of get through this.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not alone. Like, get into a group, just stop and think, like, what's the best thing for you and the best way to get out of this. Um, it's not easy. Like, it takes a lot of strength, but whenever you get through this and you're like, man, I did that, like, it just opens your eyes so much, because it's an everyday battle. I've My ex-husband was just sentenced to 5 years for the 4 felonies of abuse of me and my kids, and we still, I mean, there's still triggers, and that's something you have to work. Get counseling, please go to counseling, talk to someone, meditate, pray, whatever. um, but it's still like there's triggers with us, and we've been in a safe space, you know, for years. Um, so it's every day is a work in progress for sure.
A work in progress. Okay. For those that are unfamiliar with what the term spiritual warfare is, can you explain what that looked like in your life and how you overcame it?
Bottom line is, there is a very real enemy in this world, and he will come to steal everything that you have. And if you are a mother, the thing that he is going to steal or try to the most are your children, because that is your pride and your joy. And that's what we're supposed to cover and protect. That's what they're going to go after. And that's what happened with me. But on the other hand, there is a very, very real God, and there is victory, and he is going to show you through it and get you through it. And you'll find a hope and a faith that I don't think you even know you can have anymore. You think you have it all until you are at your bottom and you see God, like, victoriously change a situation. And that was it. I mean, it was truly just God just showing out, like, just, I'm here.
Okay. And lastly, beautiful and broken is a battle cry. Um, what is your message to women right now who don't who doesn't think she has the strength to face the truth? What would your statement to that person be, or a man, for that matter?
You do. You've probably been told differently. You've probably been told you're not, but that's the only way they can control, because they know what's in you. They know that if you would ever for once think that you had the strength or the courage to get away, then you would. So they're going to try to beat you down until you just can't take it anymore. But you can. I promise you, you can get through this. There is nothing in this world that's worse than grief. I would have went through abuse every day of my life. Um, but there's nothing harder than grief. But yet every day I get out of that bed, every day, because I know that it's doing stuff like this, like, tell your story. You don't know who you're going to change by just saying, hey, I've went through this, or being nice to someone, or like, being open, because you're taught to be so closed off and not tell people. But whenever you open up, like, the people and the situations that you could change, that's all I say. God, if through all of this it changes one person, then it's worth it.
Wow, 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 wow. If there was anything else that you wanted to add that we didn't discuss here tonight, what would that be?
Ah, um, life's a journey. There's ups and downs. We're all going to go through it. Um, People aren't always on the same, or in the same area of life that each other are. I'm going through something that 2 years ago I would have never thought that I was going through. And when you don't experience things, or even abuse, when you don't experience, you kind of live in your own bubble, like, that this is not going on around you. But
Mhm.
it is, and it's been so eye-opening for me, because now I'm on the other end of it. And for a while, it was like, why are people not checking on me? Why are people not asking how I've just lost a child? Like, I've done all this. But you have to remember, not everybody is in your corner, for one. And a lot of people don't know how to respond to it. Some people thinking by leaving you alone is the best thing for you,
Mm-hmm.
while some people are wanting to constantly be, in your face or whatever. And you have to learn that, and ask for help. I still have this problem. Like, I don't ask for help. I don't, I just try to deal with things on my own. And but ask for help. You're not alone. I promise you. Like, there's so many groups and different things, but find that inner strength, and I promise you God will get you through it.
We'll get you through it. So tell us, how do we get we get this book? How can I order the book, read the book, and all of that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, so you can buy it on Amazon, Beautifully Broken. It's on
Mm-hmm.
Kindle. We're coming out with Audible.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing so many book signings. We did one this weekend. We did one 2 weekends ago. We have another one next weekend. Um, so yeah, I mean, you can always contact me on Facebook or social media, Instagram, whatever, and I can get you the link. Or if you're local, we can get you with one here. I'll randomly send some out and sign them out for people. So yeah, you can pretty much. I think even TikTok has them.
TikTok,
I
even
think. I
TikTok.
mean, I'm old. I had to like reopen a TikTok because I just don't TikTok. So
Right. Well, you just send me the link. Sometimes it'll automatically hide it when it if you.
I forgot to do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just make sure you send me that link, and you know, and again, I can't thank you enough for joining us this evening. Just to talk about this thing called domestic violence. In this form of it, and the stress that you had to endure, and all of that kind of stuff. I thank you so much, for opening up and telling your story, and I can't say thank you enough. I know I had an opportunity maybe a month ago to go over to the family violence center here over in Pineville, and to kind of see some of the things that they are into there. So those
Yep.
services are here, and they are local. I know we also, as a part of this post, we also put national numbers. So just in case folk need to get in contact. I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. It kind of cut out, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Right. So help is out there, one way or the other. Help is out there. Um, and again, anything else before we get ready to close out this evening?
Nope. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for letting me tell our story and talk about Caiden. And
Hmm.
that's, as a mom, it's like the one thing you just never want you never want your child to be forgotten. So
Hmm.
I appreciate it. And
Tell us about your interview coming up with Lopa.
oh yeah, so well, after we were talking this morning trying to get today ready, and Lopa had
Hmm.
contacted me. And so on the 4th, I think that's next Wednesday, I'll
Hmm.
travel to Covington and go, and we'll do a podcast there, and kind of tell our story, and do one there. So I'm excited about that too. They've become family to us. So it's, again, it's one of those things, like, if you've never been in that situation, like, you don't really know much about it, but now that we've experienced Lopa, it's just amazing
Hmm.
what they do.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Maggie, again, I want to thank you for your courage, your transparency, and for your faith.
Well,
Beautifully
thank you.
Broken is more than a book. It's a mirror, a roadmap, and a lifeline for those walking through pain. To our audience, thank you for tuning in tonight. If this conversation touched you, we definitely encourage you to make that comment, hit that like button, hit that share button. You just never know who may need to hear this message
Right.
tonight. And
Right.
as always, we want to thank the UrbanCast community and our supporters: Sadler's Towing, Long's Products, Legendary Kung Fu and Tai Chi, and our class of 2025 graduating sponsors, Attorney Tiffany Sanders, Sadler's Towing, and District Attorney Philip Terra. Let's continue to tell the truth, bring in healing, and lift each other up. Until next time, let's talk. And again, congratulations to your graduate
Thank
over
you.
there.
Thank you. Yep. Got another one out.
Another one out. Y'all have a great. If you just hang in there, Maggie, I'm gonna end the stream.
Yep.